see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any?
What are we talking about? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm for you! Can't wait! Let's go!
What is going on, everybody? It is Monday night, time for the Cheap Seats podcast, where you know we have our barbershop sports talk. Now, the crew tonight, a little bit different. I mean, Jory, you guys know. And I mean, Aaron, you've been on here a few times, so the Cheap Seats crowd knows you. But before we get into everything, gotta say what's up to everybody in the comments section. Appreciate you tuning in. Got Barry in here already. But Jory, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Just got off work, tired, but I'm all right.
Okay. I mean, below me got Mr. Brutally Honest Sports. Already know when Aaron and I are on, who knows where the conversation might go. But Aaron, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm kind of right there with Jory. Like I'm a little bit tired, but have been for a while. But hey, I mean, it's free agency. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm good to go.
Definitely. Now, look, for the majority of the show, we probably will talk NFL free agency because for the unofficial opening tampering period, a lot's gone on. But I do know that Jory wants to get an NBA question out there really quickly before we get into the NFL. So let's go ahead and start with you, Jory. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, so my question, it has something to do with the Timberwolves because they always do a lot of excuse making. So you saw that my Lakers, of course, we had to bring the Lakers into the conversation, beat the Timberwolves. Now, Mr. Anthony Edwards decides he wants to complain about trips to the free throw line. If you looked at the game, one team was more physical in the paint. Well, one player was definitely more physical in the paint than the whole team. So why are we complaining about free throws if you had just been a little bit more physical in the paint? You would have got to the line too. So it was like, is this little immature type thinking gonna set Minnesota back? Because I feel like they're about to fall, but I'm not trying to speak on people's downfall. But this is why I don't like the Timberwolves. Kyle, I'll let you go first. Aaron, you can go second. You already heard my spiel.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I feel like Anthony Edwards has done this before. I can't remember it might have been like a Knicks game or something where he kind of alluded to an unfair whistle. Look, I mean, Anthony Edwards is probably the one guy on Minnesota who gets to the rim a lot. Mm-hmm. Look, the missed dunk he had over AD might have been the greatest missed dunk I'd ever seen. But I don't know. I don't know if I could take Anthony Edwards like seriously when he does this though, because from hearing Anthony Edwards talk, he's got a personality. He's got a comedic aspect to him. I mean, he might have been serious, but then he might not have been. I mean, yes, I watched the game, obviously without Gobert, without Cat, although I don't know if Cat would really do much to AD. But at least Gobert, I mean, AD dominated the paint. He had, 27 and 25? So it's kind of hard to be that dominant in the paint and not go to the free throw line. I mean, I know that we've heard the Lakers at some point talk about free throw discrepancies in certain games. It's kind of the way of the NBA. If you lose, that's like the easiest thing to point to is that team went to the line more than us. Obviously, they had a better whistle. When if you watch certain games, the style of play can dictate that. Like if you're on the perimeter a lot, you're probably not going to get to the free throw line as much.
They shot
So
43s. Like what?
right. So unless you think you're getting hacked on every three, you're probably not going to go to the free throw line that much. And I guess the second part with Minnesota falling or whatever, it's going to be interesting to see how well they do without Cat and Gobert. Like Gobert defensively does so much for them. Cat isn't. I mean, defensively he's but will they be able to win games without their dominating defense when now they're going to have to rely on Anthony Edwards to kind of carry the load offensively? That's going to be the question with them. But yeah, I wouldn't say that the free throw was the reason why that Minnesota lost that game or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of you can kind of look at it from a game to game perspective because obviously, like what he said is kind of like accumulating other games, where he's just frustrated that he feels like they don't get the calls. And so they got people working on the apartment next door. Hopefully, you guys don't hear it. It's like banging and hammering and stuff. But, anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I get it though. Like if you genuinely feel that way, that's one thing. It's just I don't know if. I mean, where else are you going to do it, I guess, on social media or like to the media themselves. But I don't know if it's a good look or not. I understand where he's coming from though. Cause like, I would probably do the same thing if I felt that way. It's just like, it kind of reminds me of the Sixers situation with Maxey now having to carry the load without Embiid. If Anthony Edwards really has to carry that load, it's a lot. You're asking a lot. So I don't know. If it continues, I'm sure like the NBA is not going to love that, him just blasting the refs, but it's understandable too at the same time.
I just think the whole crying about the free throw line with the whole league, because they all do it, like Kyle said, everybody does it. My Lakers have cried about free throw disparities. It's the most annoying thing in the world because if you get in the paint and stop trying to be Steph Curry 2.0, you get to the free throw line. Simple. Be physical.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I remember your Lakers having a pretty big outburst against the Celtics when LeBron went straight crybaby.
Nut mode.
I remember that. So it's just something you guys have to deal with as an NBA fan. I'm a Celtics fan, but I mean,
like grabbing his
LeBron.
hand and
that's LeBron though. That's what he is at this point. He's a walking theatric show. But yeah, I mean, Tatum is another guy who, a lot of Celtics fans wonder about the whistle that he gets. We've seen him get frustrated as well. So there's always going to be those guys who reach a certain status and think they're supposed to get a certain whistle, and then when they don't, they complain about it. It's the way of the NBA.
That's why they call NBA players soft. Like, shut up. Like, this is why they call NBA players soft, because they cry about everything.
I mean, yeah. It's probably some other reasons why, but yeah. I mean, a lot of times they get into each other's face, and nobody wants to throw a punch.
Nobody wants to fight, especially.
Yeah. Look around the NBA, like, who looks like they can really fight? Other than the Morris twins, because we've heard enough stories about them, and they're just kind of crazy. But
they're just goons. Look, I mean that respectfully. They are goons.
I feel like Julius Randle could maybe. I mean, he gets so mad sometimes that I'm like, I don't know if I want if I let another player on another team. I don't know if I'd want that. That's all, because he's like he can go psycho mode sometimes.
I'm not scared of Julius Randle and his fake psycho.
Bobby Portis, maybe because the eyes and everything, you might not want to tempt him. I don't know, but yeah, it's not really a league of tough guys. So, but yeah, okay. So we got NBA out of the way. We can at least say we talked about it. But the main thing we had to talk about was NFL free agency. So I think to kick off the conversation, I will just simply ask, what was maybe the biggest surprise today? It doesn't have to be necessarily a signing. It could be the amount of money a certain player signed for, or maybe a team not really doing anything. I'll start with you, Aaron, on this one. Like, what surprised you most about the tampering period today?
I mean, maybe I'm just kind of forgetting the past, but it just felt like there was so much going on today. That's one thing that just struck me, obviously. I don't know if it's like the sexiest pick or whatever, but I feel like Kirk Cousins, like going to the Falcons for as many years as he got and the money he got, was just like I just don't really. I mean, I get he puts up good stats and he makes your team better, but like, does he elevate them to the point where they're like knocking on the door? I mean, you could maybe make the argument with like Pitts and with Bijan, like he has things there. It's just like no way, no how I would have given that guy 4 years. What do you get, like 180 million, I think. I was just like shocked. I was like, wow, he's making 40, 45 million a year. Like, I get everybody's making 50 mil and above, but I think we know what Kirk Cousins is at this point. And like, maybe it's not smart on my part, but I would have went with a guy like maybe not even Justin Fields, but somebody like that hasn't been in the league forever. And like, we kind of know exactly who, like his stealing is already kind of there.
I get it. And Falcons fans are definitely not happy about that. They are not happy about Mr. Kirk Chains being in Atlanta. But the way I look at it, I'm like, okay, so you heard that the front office didn't really want Fields. That's what everybody was going down crazy down here for. Fields. And now that it's not Fields, they're upset. But when I think about it, I'm like, Raheem Morris did coach Kirk Cousins in Washington. They do run that system down in Atlanta that Kirk Cousins has thrived in. So it does make sense. Would you want to bring Justin Fields into an offense that he doesn't run, that he hasn't run, even though I really don't know what the hell they was running in Chicago the past 2 years, but that's neither here nor there. But it was shocking, but the more you think about it, I'm like, that makes sense. It's not a bad move, but then you think about Kirk Cousins being 35 years old, coming off an ACL injury. I wouldn't have gave him 4 years what he got. I would have gave him 3 years, a little bit less. But Kirk has a thing for robbing the bank. The Falcons are just another one of his victims, clearly.
I mean, look, like Kirk Cousins, if you look at numbers wise, is not a terrible option. Yes, for being in Atlanta, Jory, we know how Falcons fans like to operate. They want to chase the biggest name, and when they don't get that, they automatically hate whoever the alternative is. So because that report came out, I want to feel like a month or so ago, that it was basically like the Steelers and the Falcons trying to get Justin Fields. They already told themselves, we're getting Justin Fields. We got Kyle Pitts. We got Drake London. We got Bijan Robinson. We're going to be unstoppable. We're going to win the NFC South for like 4 or 5 years in a row. And when it doesn't happen, so, it is what it is with the Falcons fans. But now, because they got Kirk Cousins, it's like, I mean, he's old. They're probably just thinking of him in Washington with you like that. He's got a kind of corny side to him, but I don't know. I feel like I can appreciate Kirk Cousins for what he is. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to look at that team, Kirk Cousins knows how to throw the ball. What was the big issue last year? They couldn't get Pitts the ball. They kind of struggled to get Drake London the ball at key times, and their best offensive weapon was Bijan Robinson, who, they didn't really find that much in the passing game either. So I think it was a good move for them. Sure, the money might be an issue, but I mean, looking at the division over the next 4 years,
with that young team, you would like a veteran quarterback to lead that young team.
Right. I feel the same way, and I feel like over the next 4 years, you probably would pick the Falcons as the favorite to win that division. The 4 years that Kirk Cousins is there, unless they lose somebody or a couple of people on defense, and the defense regresses a little bit more, or they lose one of these offensive young pieces somewhere. So I think it's a great move, and I think Falcons fans need to kind of chill and understand the better situation they're in today.
They are pissed, though. I am telling you that now. They are pissed. They are mad.
If I was Arthur Blank, I'd come out and be like, okay. So then when we're winning, don't try to act like you were on board from day one then.
Maybe it's like, for me, it's like if you don't have that guy that can go beat a Mahomes or what, like maybe I look like too far at like, let's go get a chip, like no matter what. So, but outside of like a couple guys in the league, you don't really have that chance usually. I mean, obviously the 49ers are kind of they're a special case because like you can make the argument, yes, Brock Purdy put up crazy numbers, but is he on the level of like Burrow, Mahomes, Josh Allen? Like I guess we really don't know yet because he hasn't played long enough. But I don't know, if I was a Falcons fan, I'd kind of be like glass half empty a little bit, just because like I don't think Kirk Cousins will ever get you to a Super Bowl. Like no matter, the team could be like loaded, and like it comes down to him making a play, and I like all my money would be like he's not gonna make the play. Might not even be his fault. Like it just always seems to fall short with him. So
as long as Zach Robinson, I don't mean to cut you off. Like they have
no, you're good.
Zach Robinson, their OC, who comes from the McVay tree. That man is an offensive genius. Usually with McVay and his offensive assistants or whatnot, they go somewhere they usually succeed. So I'm like, if I'm going to take that into consideration with a veteran quarterback who will go through his reads like a veteran quarterback, I'm like, this is not that bad of a move. The only downside is Kirk Cousins is 35 years old coming off of an ACL injury. Yeah. And we already know what his ceiling is. Yeah. Just keep the ball out of the other team's hands.
Yeah, and
I think that's all. That's all they're asking him to do.
Ceiling like came down a little. Like we don't know. Like it's just one of those question marks. Because not to say Wentz was bad after his ACL, but I don't think you saw the same Carson Wentz, which is like he's a whole different. Like I think mentally he
was done.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like you say he's 35.
Well, I mean, the good thing with Cousins is you're not looking for him to scramble or any of that. He's just looking to drop back, step on his plant leg and just let it loose.
He'll get you.
Plus, with the running game and with the running game that he has, like he can rely on that. Set up play action. Play action is going to be more potent now because Robinson, Algier, and the fact that Kirk Cousins can actually throw it pretty accurately. A lot of times with Ritter, I mean, he would miss open receivers, and you just knew that, he's just not that guy. And thankfully, it took like a new coach coming in to finally realize he's not that guy. Right. So if we see Desmond Ritter other than kneeling down at the end of a blowout, then something's definitely gone wrong with Kirk and the whole Falcons organization. Okay. Well, I will say that one thing that did surprise me was the running backs. Last year we went through free agency and the big narrative was, how come the running backs aren't getting paid? How come their teams aren't paying attention to them? Well, from day one, we had DeAndre Swift, we had Tony Pollard. Yeah, we got a bunch. Aaron Jones, we learned he's going to get moved on, but Josh Jacobs is going there now. So I guess all it took was a year of, I don't know, humbling the running back market. Then all of a sudden, teams are valuing running backs once again. So that was definitely. Say that again.
Or the salary cap went up.
Well, true, but the way that it was going last year, you thought teams are just going to use that extra salary cap money on something else, whether it's a pass rusher or a corner or something like that, and kind of wait until they sign everybody and then go, oh, we got like $5 million left. Let's go call Tony Pollard and see if he wants to come in, or Zeke Elliott or something like that. But no, teams are kind of getting ahead of the running back market and signing the guys that they actually want early on to get that shored up. So I thought that was definitely interesting with the first day.
Yeah, I mean, my team got Tony Pollard. We had to let one of our running backs go. And by the end of the day, I need to know where he's at. Because if he's anywhere where they wear purple, I'm going to be upset. That's the one place I would hate for that man to go. Go to Dallas. And I hate Dallas. And I'd be able to stomach him going to Dallas. But that team up in Maryland, Virginia, that area. But with the running backs,
more than the Colts, like more than I don't think the Colts. Obviously, they have Jonathan Taylor, but it wouldn't bother you more if he went to the Colts. Like,
oh, he's dead to me if he go to the Colts.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been watching him since I was 12. But
we'll see where he ends up. We'll see.
With the way the running backs is, you have to think the way I think about it, because I kind of made this a whole like a link with the running backs earlier. I'm like, most of these running backs are going to teams that, well, like with Tony Pollard, we have a new coach. They're trying to put a new offense in. So they're trying to get the right running back for the offense that they're trying to run. So it's like that. Mm-hmm. This is the year for that. Even with the Packers, they realized Josh Jacobs is actually a stud. They let AJ Dillon go and Aaron Jones go. So they're trying to get more physical in the running game. So it's like every team is kind of like adjusting their offensive styles, and then they're going to go get that running back. It would be interesting to see where Derek ends up. I feel like he's going to be a Cowboy. I hope he's a Cowboy, because if he becomes a Raven, I'm going to pluck all the Ravens' feathers.
I mean, look, the Patriots went and got Antonio Gibson. Well, like you said, new coach. Van Pelt likes to run the ball and use the running backs. So you have Stevenson. Gibson's a good change of pace. He's a pass catching back. So yeah, definitely seems like teams with kind of a new philosophy are targeting running backs to, I guess, appease their new coordinators or whatever it is. But I'm kind of glad for it, because last year was kind of sad seeing.
Last year made me
like
mad.
The Josh Jacobs stuff when he's in this parking lot ready for the team to call him and they don't. Or, I mean, who else was it last year? Saquon basically having to take like peanuts, but then kind of backing. Then kind of going back on his word. Like he made it seem like he was going to sit out, and then he was like, "All right, I'll come back on the 1 year deal. Sure, why not?"
Now with the Giants fans,
no. Oh yes, go ahead, Giants fans.
Now with Giants fans and how y'all treated Saquon Barkley, who that man has been y'all's offense since he's been in the league, minus the ACL injuries, and y'all are over here just showing y'all's whole behind for no reason. Y'all didn't want to pay the man, and you're shocked that he went to Philly. They have an offensive line that'll protect him, that'll open up a hole or something for him. What y'all got? Peanuts? Like,
yeah, you're so right. Like, that's the thing. They used him so, like, it wasn't like they had a stud quarterback and Saquon. It was like, if they didn't have Saquon, they had nothing. Like,
exactly. That was your whole offense. If you hear the Chihuahua, please mind her.
It's all good.
That was their whole offense.
Yeah. Because I was just gonna say, like, that had to.
Win.
They're right, and that had to go into his decision making. It's like he's not getting any younger, and the fact that he was 100% dictating whether or not the Giants are going to win or lose. Defenses were stacking the box against him, making it difficult on him. He goes to Philly, where you have Hurts, you have the guys they have on the outside, and Brown and Smith, the O-line. I mean, obviously we'll have to see with Kelsey retiring how they do at center, but he probably looked at that and was like, yeah, I can probably put up some numbers there and, less taxing on my body as I get older. So it makes sense for him to go there. And yes, because it's within the division, that's probably why Giants fans are feeling that way, because you know how it is at the NFC East. If you're a Giant player and you go to the Cowboys, automatically you're dead to them. You go to the Eagles, you're dead to them. So that's kind of how it is. I mean, to be honest with you, if Ramondre Stevenson went to the Jets, I'd probably say some things as well.
You
Not
wouldn't
gonna lie.
say, "I hope you pop an ACL." That's the type of stuff I'm
Well, I
trying to get
wouldn't.
on.
I wouldn't go that far. Yes,
You got
I
Kyle
agree.
people
I
on
Kyle
the
wouldn't go
just
that
has
far.
more
internet
class than that. That's all.
being idiots with a camera phone saying, "I hope you pop an ACL," and da 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 da. I've seen quite a bit of that. I'm like, first of all, when it comes to injuries, they don't just affect you in the now, they do affect you in the future. So, and then I believe in karma. If you don't want it to happen to you, don't wish it to happen to nobody else. I just can't stand like free agency and how these fans act. Titans fans, I got something for y'all asses too. Um, and these fans act and how they act, it brings out the worst of everybody. I'm like, whoa, just act a straight
Here we
clown.
go. We got Damien up in here. I mean, Jory, you know Damien.
Oh yeah,
So
he gonna
Damien
make you
says, I don't
mad here.
understand why the Eagles didn't stay with Miles Sanders. I mean, Saquon and Sanders are basically the same running back.
No, they're not. What has
No.
Miles Sanders done in Carolina?
And like, albeit they had like Carolina, I don't think has a good probably one of the
No,
worst offensive lines.
No,
But
worse.
no.
yeah, it's like Saquon can be a home run hitter at any, like, you give him the ball at any point, he can rip
Break
off a
one.
60-yard run. Like I've watched damn near every Eagles game there has been, in the last whatever how many years, and like Miles Sanders I think he over exceeded expectations coming out of Penn State. I watched him there too, and like, but catching the ball, Saquon, like you could almost say Saquon's as effective catching the ball, if not more effective than running. So
Miles
He,
Sanders is a
he, was,
great
he
value
was saying in the
Saquon.
same injury prone wise. That's what he meant.
okay, yeah, I think Saquon's probably even more injury prone, but like I am worried. Like being an Eagles fan, I am worried about that. Like I wouldn't have hated them bringing back Swift because he seems like in Detroit he was kind of injured, here and there, but anybody that's torn an ACL, I do kind of cross my fingers. Like, hopefully they can stay healthy, but we don't know. And then like he's had knee injuries, like he's been banged up a good bit, so it is a risk. Like, and the fact they went out on a limb at the running back position, where I think the fan base would have been really happy if Swift just came back. I hope it pays dividends because, like, the Philadelphia fans they'll never let you live it down if
No,
Saquon
they
turns
won't.
out to not be, what we think we're getting. So I'm like 50-50 on it. Like I don't love it as much as some people, but I don't hate it. It's just how will it play out? I'm just kind of wait and see type of deal.
Miles Sanders is a great value Saquon Barkley, to put it lightly.
I mean, yeah, well, I guess as Damien's saying, sure, the injury concerns are there with both of them, but when healthy, like you can't necessarily compare the two of them at all. And yes, I guess you can't really fairly grade Sanders being in Carolina because of all the issues Carolina has between, started last season, you got a coach who didn't like the quarterback. The owner takes the quarterback anyway. That's dysfunction. You have wide receivers that weren't effective when you're relying
Oh,
on Adam Thielen to be your star wide receiver at this point. I don't know how many running backs would necessarily thrive in that situation.
Adam
So,
Thielen was about as fast as paint can dry. He runs as fast as paint, about as fast as paint can dry. Yeah.
I mean, he put up, I guess, kind of decent numbers. But yeah, at
Slow
this
mo
point in his career,
action.
he should be your number like 3. And Carolina had him as a 1. Anthony's asking, I need help. What are the Panthers doing?
They did
And
get
I know why you're asking that, because while we were on air, Brian Burns,
is now a Giant.
the Panthers traded him to the Giants. He was basically he was like the only defender that you really had to worry about. And Carolina's moving on from him. Anthony, all I can say is
Good luck.
complete teardown. That's what this screams. Complete teardown.
Because now they need an O line. The Austin Eckler is signing with the Commanders. Just read that. Nice
I'm
backup
not mad at that.
for Brian Robinson.
Not
They
mad at
need
that.
O-line help. They need D-line help. They need corner help. They need wide receiver help. The only position they're probably set at, and if Bryce can be what he is with a decent offensive line, is quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers, they have a long road to hoe. Long road to hoe.
Yeah, I was just looking at the. I'm assuming the Panthers got a lot of draft picks or something for him.
They had tagged him, so
I
you
mean, I
know I
would.
think they got 2 first. I
I
don't know.
mean,
I didn't
you
read it.
continue tearing it down. Oh no, they got a second and a fifth rounder.
Oh, so they got. Okay.
That second rounder might be good. But yeah, it just seems like they're gonna accumulate
Picks.
some assets, throw some darts in the draft, and hope a couple of players really shine. Because luckily for them in that division, it may not take long to necessarily turn it around. So if this is like a 2-3 year plan, I guess Panthers fans after the past couple of years will probably be like, it's another 2 or 3 years, I guess. As long as
David
once they
Tepper's
hit.
not going to wait 2 to 3 years. That's the problem that they
Well,
have.
Well, unfortunately, he doesn't play. So he can try to get people to go there, but if nobody wants to actually go there,
And it's
then
because
you
of
better
him.
hit in the draft.
Nobody
Well,
wants to go there because of him.
Well, probably until Bryce Young starts looking like a really good quarterback, that could, that would probably help him with getting wide receivers to go there. I don't know.
Derek is probably
Anthony
going to be a
says,
Cowboy. I prefer Damian. Derek is going to be a Cowboy. I promise you. Because if he's anything else, I'm going to throw a fit. At this point.
I mean, he's saying he thought Henry would be
You
the
live in
first running
Dallas.
back to be signed. Sure.
But his price tag is probably going to be pretty lofty, maybe. But I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing down there. I mean, I could bring him back for a veteran minimum, and then I just have 3 running backs on the roster.
Okay, so Anthony says he thinks Aaron Jones is going to Dallas. Which if Aaron Jones goes to Dallas,
they need a power rusher, and now that Tony Pollard is there, they could probably use 2 backs. But which one are they going to pay? Which one are they going to choose? Who knows?
That would be a little scary with Aaron Jones, but I mean, we've seen Dak with like Zeke in his prime and Pollard in his Pollard having a great year and still haven't done much. So,
I mean, Dallas will probably. I guess it'll depend if Mike McCarthy's maybe trying to do a bit of a philosophy switch with the offense, maybe lean heavy on running backs and kind of limit how much you expose Dak, because as we've seen in the playoffs, sometimes he's, bad Dak, and Cowboys fans are crying.
He's always
we've also
bad
seen him
Dak
be good Dak.
What are we
I'm
talking
just saying,
about?
we've also seen him be kind of decent Dak, and they still lose, and Cowboys fans cry anyway. So Cowboys fans are just going to be crying in January anyway.
Exactly.
I could see Henry going to the Raiders now that Josh Jacobs is gone.
Yeah, that's a decent fit. I just have to look at their offensive line. Any team that takes my former running back, be prepared. You're going to have a preliminary fan. That means I'm going to analyze your offensive line. Because that's just what I do for my favorite players.
So you want him winning the rushing title next year?
Yeah, I wish I knew that we were going to get rid of him. It still kind of hurt my heart because he won a few. Well, how many rushing titles did he win with Tennessee? 3? 2? 3? Well, 3. Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not going to lie.
It's more than one. So it's more than one. What he's done and the fact that I'm an Alabama girl and I've been watching that man since he was a freshman in college. Wherever that he goes, I'm going to analyze them. That's just how we roll here. I followed him from college to the pros. That's my NFL person.
I think he
I
has
got you.
2.
Yeah, that's what I just saw. He won 2 rushing titles.
See,
But
I
he
know
was
one
like,
of them had to be the 2K year.
no, yeah, he's like like I don't know, not to compare Saquon and him because they're totally different, but like that Titans offense with Tannehill, you have to think like it was almost like Adrian Peterson with the Vikings, where it was like you knew they were gonna run Henry a million times, but like
And you couldn't stop it.
couldn't stop it, and that was like their offense. That was it. Like, and it worked. Like it was successful. It's just I don't know.
Anthony,
It's kind
that
of
is
like
not
me
being
with
a stalker. Analyzing offensive lines is not being a stalker. It's caring about your players.
Sure.
I would have preferred
Dane would have
this.
preferred Henry over Swift. I heard somebody ask an interesting question about DeAndre Swift. I can't remember who it was, but I think it was like NFL radio. And they're saying, like, for as talented of a guy as DeAndre Swift is, why does he keep bouncing around? Because today, of course, he's signing somewhere else, be another team for him. I mean, is it the systems he's been in? Is it? I know some seasons he's kind of had some injury concerns and stuff like that, but I think he's a very talented back. I would love to see him put together maybe like a few healthy seasons and see what he can do. But I mean, yeah, like, well, I mean, Aaron, you had DeAndre Swift last year. Were you impressed by him? Did you want the Eagles to bring him back, or?
I mean, I would have been cool with them bringing him back. I mean, I liked him. When they said, I forget what week it was, but he went over 1,000 yards, and I was like, to me, it felt like he had maybe 400 yards because, like, I just feel like we didn't use him right. So the fact that I think he wasn't utilized even close to, what he can really do for your team, for your franchise, like I was impressed with the numbers. Like like watching him, it was like he had like 3 or 4 straight weeks where it was just like he was dynamite. Like they were using him like almost like how Dallas uses a running back, just like all the time. And then boom, it just felt like they abandoned the rush or the run a lot. So I would have been cool with them bringing him back. I think for him, like this whole notion where it's like, oh, he can't stay on a team a while. Like I think he was only on Detroit before the Eagles. So I think it was like a 1 year, like, let's see what he can do. He knew like if he balled out, he would get a deal somewhere, even if it wasn't in Philly, which it wasn't. So I don't know. I see a lot of that like on social media, people saying, why is he bouncing around a lot? And I just feel like it was a year he could prove himself. He did it. And it's not like he signed a 1 year deal with Chicago. Like he signed a 3 year deal. He'll be there for a little bit. We don't see running backs get like 8 year deals, like hardly at all anymore. So I don't know. I liked him. I have no problem with him. As a lot of Eagles fans, I think I don't worry about his injury concerns as much as Saquon. So I'm sitting here a little bit like tongue in cheek, will all this work out? We'll see. But I probably would have preferred that. Like he's probably the safer. He maybe not as explosive as Saquon and catching the ball. He's not Saquon, but he was. I mean, 1,000-yard back's 1,000-yard back. So
yeah. Before we continue, I want to say, I'm just saying we have like 101 in here watching, which shout out to all of you. I mean, guys can like flood the chat. If you got questions for us, or tell us how your team did today and if you like them. But keep it going with. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to Sports Empire Network as well, for all of you who are new to the channel. But Anthony said, did you hear Caleb Williams canceled his visit to Chicago? Is this a red flag?
Huh?
At this point, I feel like the writing's on the wall. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like the writing is on the wall that Chicago's going to take him. That at this point, would he need to visit them? Probably not. So the only way I'd say is a red flag is if the number one pick isn't him.
As long as he understands this sentence, Caleb, you are a Chicago Bear. As long as he understands that, I don't care what Caleb Williams do. I'm tired of Caleb Williams already.
Sajin has a question for us. Russ,
Russell?
thoughts?
Ooh.
Russell Wilson. I guess
I
the
mean,
first question
it's
would be,
definitely going to.
do you like the fit in Pittsburgh?
I do because they have a running game. Russ can still throw a deep ball. So they have George
Mm-hmm.
Pickens. You know he hasn't been happy with about the quarterback situation. He has been very visibly transparent about him not being happy about who's throwing him the ball. So it's like I'm reading that comment.
Yeah, I saw it. What's going on, Trajan?
um what was I saying? Russell Wilson and the Steelers.
Yeah.
It's a nice fit. It's gonna be very competitive. George Pickens has not been very happy with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. I do think that Pittsburgh is gonna use this as an opportunity to let maybe Pickett learn a little bit under Russ, develop a little bit more instead of just throwing him out to the fire. They do have an offensive line, but he could compete. He could start. It's probably gonna be we're probably not going to know who's going to start knowing the Steelers until opening day, but it is what it is.
Aaron, I mean, you like the fit for Russ?
I kind of do. Like, I don't know. I keep going back. I mean, yeah, Russ is over. I think it just didn't work in Denver. Like this past season, if you look at his numbers though, outside of like Jerry Judy, who do they really have? And like he put up good numbers. Like there's no doubt about that. I know they didn't win a bunch of games or live up to expectations and things, but I just feel like with the Steelers defense becoming, pretty good, it's up there. I just I don't know. I love the fact that maybe Kenny Pickett can learn a thing or two, like from a guy that's had success. Like you bring in Trubisky, what's Kenny Pickett going to learn from Trubisky? Like how to not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
How to throw picks? No. He do that on
yeah.
his own.
I still don't think like the Steelers throw in the towel on Kenny. Like they don't throw the towel in on coaches. I don't think they're going to throw in the towel on Kenny Pickett. Like I'm sure today when or yesterday I guess that broke. Like Kenny Pickett's probably sitting there like, come on, man. Like I battled through how many injuries. But at the end of the day, he just didn't do enough. I'm a Kenny Pickett fan, but he just hasn't done enough. So it's like you bring in a guy that just had success. He won a Super Bowl, been to two. Like I don't think it can hurt. I don't think it puts them at like Super Bowl contender, but they won 10 games last year with the Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett. So to say they can't win that division, I think that they could. I think they have a tougher schedule this year. I think they play the NFC East as one different aspect to their schedule. But like with Russ, I just think he has to be above average, and like Steelers always find a way to finish above 500 unless he comes out and throws like 5,000 interceptions. I don't see them like being horrible or regressing.
If he do that, he's gonna get cut because he's only on there on a 1 year minimum and only paying like $1 million. So he come out throwing picks if he want to. He will be available Monday morning.
Yeah, the Broncos are on the hook for all that. So
exactly.
I mean, look, maybe Tomlin and Pittsburgh feel like you bring in Russ, maybe it gets Pickett going. Maybe Pickett comes into training camp, looks a little better. And even if Russ wins the job, if Russ struggles at some point mid-season, they could be like, okay, we'll turn back to Pickett, and Pickett can kind of pick up from there. I mean, looking at Russ's numbers from last season, he threw for a little over 3,000 yards. He had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and his rating was 98. And he completed about 66.5% completion percentage.
Sean Payton did kind of elementarize that offense.
Yeah.
And that's probably why his numbers were that good. He did kind of scale it back. He didn't open up the whole playbook, considering what we know Sean Payton to be other than a butt. But,
Yeah. And plus, Denver's season really kind of went down after they started playing well when Cortland Sutton got hurt. And Sutton was Russ's favorite target. So if you're George Pickens, you're looking at that and like, so if I become Russ's main target, then I'm gonna get the ball a lot more. Now, if Deontay Johnson's still there, that might be an issue with him, because unfortunately for Pittsburgh, they've had two guys who at times like to kind of bring attention to themselves, which is kind of
Deontay
nothing new
Johnson
in
is not
Pittsburgh
even
for
there
some
no
reason.
more.
I was just saying, like, if they brought him back, maybe that would be an issue. But I doubt he goes back there. But if you're George Pickens, you might wake up today and be like, okay, I may actually like going into work. I don't know. We'll see what Russ looks like.
Trajan said Russ will have a good of a year as A-Rod when he left Green Bay. And we know how that turned out. 1 game and 4 snaps.
I don't trust that O-line though either. I don't trust. I feel like that's been part of Kenny Pickett's problem. Like, not to
The offensive
take
line,
blame off of him, but like that Steelers. I see Najee Harris get hit behind the line so much.
Mm-hmm.
I see Pickett scrambling for his life. Like, I don't know. The Steelers haven't. It feels like ever since Pouncey retired, like during that era, their O-line has just gone down, 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 and like they have to figure that out because, I mean, you could have Brady back there, but like if you don't have pass protection,
he's going to get hit. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
When you brought up Pouncey's name, I can only remember that day that Myles Garrett hit that man with his own helmet. And here comes Pouncey. That was hilarious.
That was messed up.
It was messed up, but it was funny looking back to it.
So Saji's other question, does the move make the Steelers contenders?
No.
I mean, can they get out of that division, number one? Because we know what Baltimore is. You're looking at Cleveland. If the quarterback position is ever fixed in Cleveland, they're going to be dangerous. And then, I mean, I was just speaking in terms of their fans. And you got Cincinnati with Burrow coming back. So I don't even know if a good Russ is good enough to
get a
playoff spot. Like if they're in wild card contention like they are most years, I feel like you'll take that. And, the Steelers find a way to kind of sneak in when you kind of lose track of them. So maybe they can sneak in as a wild card team. And if you're a Steelers fan, you would think the offense looks better. So you probably have a better feeling possibly going into a wild card game with Russ under center as opposed to Kenny Pickett. I mean, I feel like it's a definite upgrade. So I wouldn't call them contenders, but the play on the field should be much better this season.
A little off topic, but you know what I really wish would happen? If Joe Flacco were to go back to the Browns and Deshaun, that weirdo, starts messing up and they start rooting for Flacco, I hope they bench him. I hate Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's strong. I don't like him.
I mean, is there any word that Flacco is actually going to play this year? Or is Flacco kind of going to treat it like last year where he'll chill with his family?
I mean,
and then somebody's going to be like, hey, we need you for like 6 games. And they'll be like, all right, I guess I'll get on a plane.
Bengals are not dumb for not giving T his money. If T wants to take a little discount, I got a house for him in Nashville that I could sell him.
Freaking last year, I mean, the Eagles signed Marcus Mariota for $5 million. You might as well give that money to the homeless people because
I would have took the $5 million.
That's what I'm like. You probably would have been more productive. Like as soon as they signed him, I was like, man, why? Like I just never thought much of it. Like great college quarterback, but like even as a backup, I'm like, I get he's mobile and stuff, but I mean, I don't think what Flacco did with the Browns was like a flash in a flash in a pan. Like I think he can, I'm not saying bring him in as quarterback one, but like he's kind of like a Nick Foles to me, where it's like you need him to win some games here and there for you. Like he could probably do it, or like maybe a Jacoby Brissett, like just a game manager type, but a little bit better. Like I would take. I mean, shoot, if they pay Mariota $5 million, I'd take him for $2.5, $3 million all day. Like I know he's 40 years old, whatever, but I mean, he showed he can still. the fact that he balled out like that, I just there's not many good backups in this league. Like there to me, I don't know.
Well, he's not going to
He's got
sign
a
now because
perfect-
he probably doesn't want to do training camp. He's 40 something. He's going to wait for all that to pass by, and then he'll be like,
Yeah.
"All right, who wants me?" And he'll be there week 1, and he'll fall asleep on the bench if he wants to. Like, he's 40 years old. What are you going to tell him?
He might be a Patriot, man. He might, we got Mac Jones over there anymore. You never know.
Patriots fans might burn down the stadium. Not going to lie.
That's a
That's
long
not
time
a name.
ago.
That is not a name they want to hear, Joe Flacco.
That was a long time ago.
They that's not what they want.
I
Sajin asked also, will the Chargers be better this year?
What
Who
are
wants
your
to take this one?
what is your terms in forms of better? Because they're in cap hell.
Can they be a playoff team?
No.
Okay.
They're gonna lose some pieces. They don't even have the money to really sign their upcoming draft class. So they're gonna have to make some decisions. They'll be rebuilding. But this year they should be competitive because Jim Harbaugh is gonna be able to get those boys rolling. But at the same time, they won't be going to no playoffs. They'll have to make a decision off of who? Keenan Allen, $30 million. They got about 3 or 4 $30 million plus contracts, and they're about
Keenan
$40
Allen,
to $50 million over cap.
Bosa, Khalil Mack. Well, Eckler we know is gone because he's in Washington. I think is it Mike Williams as well?
Yep.
So yeah, they definitely have a lot to figure out.
So
Aaron,
no
will the
playoffs.
Chargers be better this year?
I mean, obviously you bring in Harbaugh, upgrade over Brandon. I mean, I think anybody's an upgrade over Brandon Staley, honestly. But I think you might see like Herbert develop a little bit better because I just feel like Harbaugh being there, I just have trust in him to I think he elevated J.J. McCarthy probably to as high as he could get, honestly. And then obviously Kaepernick back in the day, and then Alex Smith. I just feel like he always turns a quarterback or makes a quarterback better, I should say. But I mean, we just talked about how many players will be gone in free agency. They're in cap hell. They're a couple of years away, I think, from being a serious contender. We'll never get. Yeah, I mean that's true too. I just think if the Chargers are smart, I'm not saying to make Harbaugh a GM, but let him have.
Let him pick his players.
Sean Clifford, yeah, Penn State legend Sean Clifford, but no, I just feel like it's going to take a couple years, and they're not there yet. I think if anybody can turn that franchise around, Harbaugh is one of the select few because they have always been even in the Phillip Rivers era. I just felt like they were cursed. It was just they can't never actually figure it out to even get to the Super Bowl or anything. But as much as I'm not a huge Jim Harbaugh fan, I do. I mean, I have to tip my cap. He wins everywhere he goes. He's successful. Took a while at Michigan, but college can be difficult. So I don't know. It's tough. Getting in that division is every year again. The Chiefs. So we'll see how long it takes. But I would be optimistic as a Chargers fan, just not for this season. They might be the same or take a little step forward at best.
But y'all ain't going to no playoffs.
I can see that.
You're delusional if you think you are.
I guess to maybe piggyback off of Aaron, for Chargers fans, they got to look at this season as more competent. With Brandon Staley, it seemed like there's a lot of confusion, a lot of lack of awareness. And from what we see from Jim Harbaugh, he's a guy who's very detail oriented, and his philosophy will ring true from week 1 as what kind of team they are. Now, depending on who he gets in the draft and everything like that, this year should be a kind of a season of growth. You should see a little bit better from Herbert, like you said as well. And then maybe next year we can talk about maybe them challenging, or maybe them being like a worthy challenger to the Chiefs, maybe, or a wild card team or something like that. But yeah, I don't really know how this season's gonna go because we don't know the decisions they have to make for their cap situation. Like if you tell me their defense has like no Khalil Mack or Bosa, that's kind of a big deal. And sure, maybe Harbaugh just goes in the draft, drafts a bunch of Michigan guys, and maybe they're fine. But yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily be wildly better, but at least they'll look more like an NFL team when you watch them instead of Staley just guessing.
And just
All
standing
right, Dave.
there and snapping off at reporters talking about, don't ask me
Right.
that question again. I'm going to be calling the defense. It's I'm like, whoa, Mr. Sassy.
Right.
Defensive.
Well, I mean, that was a guy who knew he was at the end, so he got a little snippy. All right, Damien.
Yeah. Oh.
I was just gonna go to Damien here with his. Speaking of QBs, who do you think won the Mac Jones trade?
Mac Jones.
I guess
I'm gonna say Mac Jones.
That's actually not a bad answer. Okay.
You get to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Like you get to go home. You get to back up Trevor Lawrence. Maybe pick up some stuff from him. Even though he is your age or younger, you can never be too boneheaded to learn. If Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, which we know from now that he does have a tendency to get hurt, he'll have an opportunity. And I will admit that South Conference, the AFC South, even though it is rebuilding, and I do think it's going to get a lot better next year, it's not relatively a strong division. So I think Mac Jones won this trade. Like, if you send me home, you trade me and send me down the street from my house, you don't think I'm going to be happy about that?
I mean, that's definitely a good take. I don't know if that's a take. Damien's probably looking at Jaguars or the Patriots, but the fact that Mac Jones does get to go home, maybe he is the winner in all this. Aaron, I guess who do you think was the winner?
I mean, no offense, Kyle, but you got to look at the Mac Jones experience, no matter if it's his fault or not, because I can give him some leeway with, at one point Matt Patricia's calling plays for him. It's like, how fair of a shot did he really get up there in New England? But it's like, man, this guy was a first-round pick. He gets traded for a sixth-round pick. Like, that's just a fall from grace, to say the least. Like, I just look at – I mean, there's a million examples of guys being drafted in the first round. And, look how many places Baker's had to bounce around just to get a deal, and he was a first overall pick. So – I'm not trying to rain on Mac Jones and say he's god awful and he shouldn't be in the league. It's just he is there's no way that this is even a quarterback competition going into the camp. Like, everybody knows Trevor Lawrence is QB1. So I got to disagree a little bit with Jory on this one, just because if I'm Mac Jones, I'm not to say I'm not confident anymore. This could be a fresh start, and if he gets playing time and he shows something, maybe another team picks him up down the road. But I just don't think he'll ever be the guy in Jacksonville. That's very hard for me to picture that with Trevor Lawrence being ahead of him. But I mean, at the same time, a change of scenery might be great for him too, because it's just, for whatever reason in New England, it just didn't work out. So I guess who's the winner? Man, maybe I almost talked myself into Mac Jones being the winner, because this is a change of scenery. But I almost think the Patriots are, because it's you cut ties with them. I mean, you never signed him to big money. That's the good news. And then, a sixth-round pick is, unless you draft him Brady, then or Purdy or whatever. But a sixth-round pick is a sixth-round pick. But you're out from under Mac Jones now, and you can just kind of shift your your focus somewhere else. I don't think Zappy's the guy either. So
Mhm.
they'll go a different direction, and maybe this next guy will be the guy. It's just I think you knew what you had with Mac Jones, at least in New England. I just didn't think it was ever going to work.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not one of the like Patriots fans that completely kicked Mac Jones when he was down because, like you alluded to, there were several factors that from his rookie year, going 10-7, losing the wild card round, kind of being optimistic for the quarterback that he could be, to then his second season with Patricia and all that confusion, them going with 8-9, missing the playoffs. I think that put him on a bit of a hot stove in terms of Patriots fans were starting to look at him and be like, well, I don't know if he's the guy, but I think they're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt with Matt Patricia. Then they bring in Bill O'Brien. I mean, look, Bama fans are celebrating when Bill
I
O'Brien
was
left.
celebrating when he left. I was like, yes, Lord, go.
But
Bye.
but the thing was, when Bill O'Brien was in Houston, the only reason why he wasn't still in Houston was Bill O'Brien, the GM. Bill O'Brien, the coach, was great in Houston. I mean, he had good Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson was on a terrible team, lighting up the league passing the ball. So people were like, okay, this is what Mac Jones needs. And
Then he
then,
traded away D Hop for a bag of chips and a second round pick.
as I said, GM Bill O'Brien got him in trouble. Coach Bill O'Brien was fine. But he comes to this past year, and it seemed like it got worse with Bill O'Brien. And most Patriots fans will say the Colts game is when it was blatantly obvious that Mac Jones couldn't stay. He threw that terrible pick late in the game where Gesicki was open the back of the end zone and Mac basically threw a dart to the 2-yard line right into the Colts defender's hands. That's when Patriots fans were like, I'm done with this guy. So he gets traded to Jacksonville. I just think for the new quarterback that's going to be there, hopefully the number 3 pick, I feel like that person's going to be a winner because if Mac Jones was still there and you bring that quarterback in, I think there were some Mac Jones fans who were still in New England that probably would say, why are we starting this young guy over Mac? And then for Mac, it'd be kind of a weird situation for him. So him getting out of there, he gets to kind of be with Doug Peterson for a little bit. Maybe that helps him out. Unfortunate thing is like where he is in his career, it'd be his 4th year. If he doesn't play next year, obviously they're not going to pick up his 5th-year option. So he's going to go out into the free agent market with not really any value. And he's probably going to have to sign somewhere as a backup and hope he gets an opportunity to show himself. So this might test kind of the mental strength of Mac Jones because being a traveling journeyman backup is not for everybody.
No, it's not.
Especially
He
for
is
a guy
not
coming
Ryan
from.
Fitzpatrick.
He's not who?
He's not Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick thrived on that. He'd go to situations, he'd find a way to start a few games, fans would love him, then he'd go to another team and do the same thing. I mean, if that's what Mac Jones turns into, you got to embrace it like Fitzpatrick.
I mean, if Sam Darnold got another shot, I wouldn't put it out of realm of possibility because that guy, man, I was like the biggest, like Sam Darnold won't be anything. Like, and granted, I give any quarterback that gets drafted by the Jets a pass a little bit because like they never figure it out on offense. Like I'm not saying that, let's say CJ Stroud this past season gets drafted like in a different universe that maybe he would light it up. But I think a lot of guys, even developed quarterbacks and things like that, you go to the Jets and it's like, not to say your career's over, but that's one of the worst starts you can have. Like that and like the Lions for the longest time. It's like, all right, we're going to ruin you. Like that's basically what we're going to do. And now it's like, but we see Sam Darnold go to Carolina. He does a little like everybody's like, oh, they're 4-0 or something at one point, and they're like, oh, this team's, and I was like, watch, like no way. USC quarterback, yeah, it's very true. I would say the same for Ohio State outside of CJ Stroud, but he's kind of
Carson Palmer was good until Pittsburgh destroyed his knee.
Yeah, he's underappreciated, I think.
I definitely agree with that. I thought Carson Palmer was a pretty good quarterback.
I think like Cincinnati's almost the opposite of the Jets, where it's like for some reason they get a quarterback. It doesn't matter. It could be Andy Dalton for years. Like they're always decent. It's never like an absolute dumpster fire like the Jets. It's like you could draft maybe Carson Palmer gets drafted by the Jets. It's a dumpster like we don't know, but like outside of Chad Pennington, and he wasn't even much really in the grand scheme. It's like who have the Jets had? I mean, and then Favre goes there, and then they're tearing it up, and then I think he did get injured and he played through it if I remember correctly, but then they collapse, like lose 6 out of 7, don't even go to the playoffs. So there's something with that, but like to tie it to Mac Jones in a long-winded way, I think I wouldn't give up on him, but it's just like I don't know how high is Mac Jones' ceiling in a league that's, you know, you got your Josh Allens, you got your Mahomes, you got your like you almost have to shoot for the stars to try and get a guy on close to that level, and like having a game manager just it's hard to like because he's kind of that right now. So how far does that get you? Is all I'm trying to say.
I will tell you Mac Jones' ceiling. Look at that guy in San Francisco.
Yeah,
Mac Jones needs a situation where
true.
you have elite running back, you got talented wide receivers, you got tight ends he can throw to. That's what he needs.
Great defense.
Where can he find that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, luckily he had pretty good defenses in New England, but
yeah, I just mean like the whole combination of like everything.
Yeah, he's a quarterback that you're not going to want to sit there and have no, playmakers and be like, hey, go fix it for us. He's not going to thrive in that. But if you have a really good number one, good slot wide receiver, couple of good tight ends, and a reliable running game, yeah, Mac Jones can do some stuff for you. And an O-line. The O-line has to be pretty good as well. So maybe he needs to end up in a situation with a guy, I guess, like Shanahan and their front office and with the Niners, or maybe like a McVay with the Rams or something like that. That's where Mac Jones has to find his way. And maybe when Stafford's out of there, would they give Mac a shot? I don't know. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with Mac Jones. I do root for him. I hope he does find somewhere.
Speaking on the Lions, like, do you think Mac Jones, like, this is a weird question, but do you think Mac Jones would have not taken him as far as Jared Goff, but, like, with that team, the way they played this year, like, could you see him having decent success with, obviously, the Gibbs, the running game, St. Brown, all of that going for him?
I think in a situation like that, he probably would have still had them as a playoff team. I think so.
Him and Zach Wilson took so much flack this season. I was rooting for them because they were taking it unnecessarily. Like, I look at the Jets and I'm like, whose fault is it that y'all went and got a 40-year-old quarterback and y'all didn't have a half of an offensive line? Whose fault is that? And then you didn't have a backup. And whose fault is that you let that said quarterback come in there and just take culture and throw it into the trash? That's y'all's fault.
I know exactly why they did it. New York is desperate. The Jets haven't been relevant since Joe Namath. I mean, yeah, they had a couple of years with Mark Sanchez. Yeah, okay, that was great, but
defense
basically since Joe Namath, they've been so what? Like, look at the Giants and the Jets. The Giants have been, you would probably say, historically the better New York team. And then now they got the team up in Buffalo that's come along and has passed them as well. And when it comes to New York, you're fighting for that back page of the newspaper. The Jets weren't it anymore. So they saw Aaron Rodgers out there. They figured, at worst, he brings publicity. At best, maybe we make it interesting in the playoffs. And they're going to go down the same road next year. They're banking on Aaron Rodgers being completely healthy. They're banking on him making it through the season. They're going to bank on him probably making some personnel decisions and it all going well. And Robert Saleh and those guys just got to sit there and be like, yeah, that's our quarterback.
They do that.
He's going to take us to the promised land.
They do that, and Salah won't make the season, so he won't finish it. I think his seat gonna be hot as hell.
Well, yeah, because if they don't make the playoffs, they're not going to blame Aaron Rodgers. They're just going to blame Robert Saleh for not being good enough.
Yep.
I think their owner has a lot of. He has his hands in the cookie jar, just like Jerry. Not to the level of Jerry Jones, but they say like Woody Allen is. He's one of the harder the owners to deal with. So
he's a meddler too.
Oh, yeah, Woody Johnson. Yeah.
He's a meddler
Woody
too.
Johnson also. Well, he has like some position in government or something. Like he's kind of a big deal, and yeah, so he's one of those larger than life kind of characters. But yeah, he's not like necessarily on Jerry Jones level.
I got a question. If he got a position in government or something, he should be worried about fixing that and watching his money grow. With
I mean, it's something like he's like an ambassador to Ireland or something. I don't know necessarily what he actually does, but he has like a government title.
He's probably better at that job than running the Jets, but I don't know.
Hey, you're not gonna get any sympathy from me. The Jets stink.
And
I'm completely happy with that.
Man, you gotta feel bad a little bit though. No, like
no, you don't.
I guess I would never feel bad for Dallas, but I shouldn't even say I feel bad for Washington because they always like cheap hit the Eagles, man. Like they'll be like waving for a fair catch and somehow just get rocked for no reason, and it's a whole brawl. Like I remember Darren Sproles at one time. It's happened before though, but I can get it from your division because they're not in my division. I am like, man, talk about a just suffering franchise. Like. Don't get much worse than that. Like they finally get Aaron Rodgers and then bang the first drive. Like you can't make that stuff up. And like it is their fault for not having an O-line, but like, damn, like you get a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback and you get not even a full drive out of him. Like it's just like that's the Jets. Like that's
Jets.
How he feels about the Jets is exactly how I feel about the Colts.
That's valid. I'm sorry, Kyle. That's kind of how I feel about the Patriots. Either. That's kind of how I feel about the Pats because they won too much. Like I'm over it. We don't need.
It's not even that. They have a bad owner who's a drunkard, amongst other things. They never take care of their quarterback. They like to scapegoat things. They don't like to pay people, and they wonder why they're a bad franchise. Oh, and their fans like to antagonize people. Have you ever argued with a Colts fan? I promise you, it'll make you mad.
I don't even think I know a Colts fan, so yeah, probably has never happened.
I'm related to some of them.
Yeah, it's
kind of unfortunate. And like that person doesn't even hardly talk, so I can't even.
One of the good ones, I guess.
Talk to y'all because y'all have Super Bowls, y'all have the cachet. Anybody that they feel like they're lower than that they're above for whatever reason, they talk cuckoo to.
I know how to get a Colts fan to talk for sure.
I do
Colts fans hate the Patriots as well.
They've gotten swept in the division twice. And who did it? Yeah. Just tell them that. They'll be quiet.
Sajin asked, will the Lions push the envelope next season? I am assuming, because I guess going further, which at that point would be making the Super Bowl. I mean, they're in the conversation to me because when you look at the NFC, you're looking at the Niners. It's like the same usual suspects: the Niners, the Eagles. I mean, I guess people are going to throw out the Cowboys. I wouldn't, but once you get past those two, the Lions are kind of looking really good right now. I mean, Green Bay, what they did last year, depending on what they do this year, I would be encouraged by the Packers for sure, but I think the Lions will have every opportunity to at least get back to where they were last season. So push the envelope. I don't know necessarily the context of that question, but I do expect some good things from Detroit next season.
Yeah, I feel like the 49ers are done. I do expect good things out of Detroit. The only thing that they can really ask is for their defense to play well out the gate. And for Dan Campbell, get out of your own way. Quit it.
I think he's keeping that mentality. Going for it and fourth it's part of who he is.
No,
at this
I have
point.
no problem with it. But
Okay.
learn some discernment. When do you need to go for it on fourth? When do you not? That was Brandon Staley's issue. But the difference is that Dan Campbell clearly is a competent head coach and Brandon Staley is not. But the 49ers are done.
Jerry Staley, please leave now.
The
This part is
49ers are done.
hilarious. Yeah, Siden says the 49ers are done. I mean, Siden is a Seahawks fan.
They are. I mean,
So
I want them to be done so people can start looking at Shannon scam like the scammer that he is. He done scammed 2 organizations out of Super Bowls. The 49ers twice and the Falcons once. Being cute. And my biggest issue with Shanahan is literally he thinks he's the biggest brain in the room. And because he's like that, and because of that egos, he gets in his own way. He outsmarts himself. Like when you look at the 49ers, usually when they collapse, it's usually have nothing to do with the actual play on the field. It's usually a collection of decisions that flipped the momentum that they had. And that is on Shanahan. So I can't wait till the 49ers are done so we can start looking at him like the way we look at Brandon Staley and the rest of the other people who failed. Or Harbaugh.
So,
we need to start looking at Harbaugh like that too.
But, well, at least with Shanahan, he can at least get to the dance. Harbaugh can't get you to a Super Bowl, other than the one some years ago. But I feel like that's probably what's going to save Shanahan. If he continues to kind of get at the doorstep or makes a Super Bowl appearance, yes, eventually he's going to have to win one, of course. But I feel like as a fan, yes, you want to win that title, but if you're in contention year after year, that should be something to kind of hang your hat on, possibly.
So
I don't know.
I hope.
But then you'd have to ask who in the NFC is ready to kind of knock them out of contention.
The Lions.
Okay.
I can't trust them. Like, Jory, I hope you're right. It would be an answer to my prayer. I cannot. The 49ers, to me, I cannot wait till they fall apart. Like, I'm waiting for the day. Trust me. But I just feel like.
Well, Damien says it's the Bears.
No, the Bears can't get everybody.
Stop it.
And then worried. They haven't been to the playoffs since when? I was 2.
I'm worried, like, the 49ers have been there, done that. Like, I trust that franchise to keep things intact. I don't trust, like, the Lions to continue to make good decisions. Like, let's say they start losing members from their front office that's successful, like, or coaches, things of that nature. Like, Detroit's, like, their entire history is losing. So it's like, yeah, they have this glimmer of hope now, which I'm not saying they shouldn't. But, like, Green Bay is coming. Like, I really think Jordan Love is, like, that guy already. Green Bay doesn't miss on quarterbacks. Like, Favre, Rodgers, now Jordan. Like, I just feel like Jordan Love, not to say he's one of them, but he's not going to be, like, trash. And, like, Detroit quarterback, Jared Goff. Like, we pretty much know what he is. Like, he's another, like, Kirk Cousins to me. So it's like, if they would have made better decision making in that NFC Championship, we could be talking about them in the Super Bowl. But I mean, even Dan Campbell said, like, maybe this is where and I didn't really like that he said, maybe we don't get back.
Honest.
I know, but that's almost too like
too honest, too real. I know.
Yeah, because, like, now you put that thought in people, like, subconsciously type thing. But whatever. But Green Bay.
I kind of appreciate him saying that.
I don't know. That's not the message I want to. I'm sure every coach, probably not every coach, but most feel that way. But man, like, I trust in Green Bay. They just win. Like, they just win division titles. They're like the Braves to me. They don't win it all very often, but they're there. They're there. They show up. They're in the playoffs. It is what it is. And, like, to say Detroit's a shoe-in, I'm just like, let me see him do it more, for a couple more years.
Literally, that was just pretty much me just talking off the tip of my tongue. I didn't get the chance to think about the question because I was in the middle of a rant. But because when I look at the 49ers, it's like the last few times, it's like it's come down to Shanahan. And I'm tired of Shanahan being the problem and he get all this leash. Like, he just straight up scapegoated Steve Wilkes. And he's safe. So no nobody get to look at him cuckoo. We all know he's the problem. And then the fact that they might start losing players this offseason, they'll be very gettable. And I do know who won't be getting them, the Dallas Cowboys.
So Trajan and Dustin are both agreeing with Green Bay getting rid of Jones was a dumb move. He gets that they brought in Jacobs, but thought Jones and Jacobs together would make a really good running back combo. I kind of felt the same way. I thought, like A.J. Dillon, I knew he was gone. I assumed they were going to get a running back to pair with Aaron Jones that maybe was a little bit more reliable, explosive than A.J. Dillon. Like A.J. Dillon, when you hand him the ball, you know what you're getting. It's like 3 yards, he's going to run over somebody, and that's about it. But I thought they would get somebody kind of like a Josh Jacobs, but then you're going to look at it. Jacobs and Aaron Jones are both number ones. Could you ask both of them to split with each other, and would that be, I don't know, conducive to winning football? That's a question to ask. But I do agree. I was kind of surprised that Aaron Jones was gone because I thought he played excellent for them last year. And it's definitely kind of tough to move on from that the very following offseason.
I did have something to say because I did not mention the fact that the Nico Autry thing. I did not get to mention that. Yeah. We did sign a dude from Owuzie. What the hell ever.
I think they pronounce like Awuzie. Yeah.
Whatever. Y'all know who I'm talking about. That's a good pickup. And a lot of Titans fans are upset that we didn't want to pay Nico Autry $10 million for a 35-year-old defensive lineman. I'm like, first of all, if he finds success in Houston, good luck. Even though he's not dead to me because I actually have a lot of players over on the Texans that I like to watch. So he's not dead to me. If he had went to the Colts or to the Jags, he would have been dead to me. But then we're in talks to getting DJ Reader. To all the irrational Titans fans that are talking about Rand needs to get fired and and yeah, because they're mad about Danico. I'm like, first of all, if we can offload Danico and go get a DJ Reader, that's an absolute lie. We're not gonna get me started on Ryan Tannehill. That's a rant for a whole nother show. I only got 2 minutes, so I'm gonna stick it with Danico Autry and not Tannehill. But that's just something that just set me off. Hold on. But with Danico Autry, we can get rid of him for being 35, even though we've gotten very good production out of him for the past 3 years, and replace him with a run stopper like DJ Reader or something like that. That's a good offset. I'd rather pay a little bit more money for something younger and I'm going to have for a lot more time. This is how business goes, Titans fans. Do not lose your common sense talking about Rand needs to get fired. When we just got the center from Denver, we just got Awuzie, and what else? What the hell else? I can't think about it, but I'm done right now.
So it does say DJ Reader. It seems like it's down to the Lions and the Titans right now. And we had some other free agency news while we were on here. Dolphins are getting Jordan Brooks from the Seahawks. The Texans are signing Azeez Al-Shahir from the Titans.
No!
Yeah,
I wanted to keep him.
The Texans are giving him a 3-year deal. And the Patriots are re-signing Michael Onwenu, which I got to say, thank you. So, had a couple moves since we were on. Oh, one last one. Noah Fant re-signing with the Seahawks. So they've updated like their top free agents still out there. Still have Danielle Hunter, Leonard Williams, Kendall Fuller, Hollywood Brown, I guess, Calvin Ridley, Tyron Smith, Justin Simmons, Trent Brown, Derrick Henry, Patrick Queen, Jerome Baker, and Xavier Howard are the top guys still available. Anthony said,
Because you
why the
weren't going to
Titans
sign.
sign Tony Pollard?
Now, Tony Pollard and the Tajay Spears backfield is definitely going to be dangerous. Now, think about it. Tajay is going to be running back on number 1, no matter what his condition is with his ACL not being there in one knee. He's a very quality, good running back. He a dog. Tony Pollard is probably going to be the smash and dash type factor. So it's like they knew Derek was going to command at least $12 to $13 million a year. And they didn't want to pay that for a running back right now, considering that Levis is still developing and that we need to plug some holes in on. I need another nose tackle that actually wants to come to work in shape and actually wants to put in some effort. T.R. Tart. I need corners. I need safeties. So yeah, we needed to reallocate that money to re-sign Derek to go help fix the defense and make it a more balanced team, if that made sense.
I mean, we got like 3 more minutes, so chat, you can definitely keep it going. Pollard equals meh.
That's why he's not a running back number 1. He'll be running back number 2. Spears is running back.
Well, Dallas tried Pollard as running back 1 last year. Did not go well. Work. So he has to know.
I know Brian Callahan knows what he's doing. Callahan knows what he's doing. They know how to build a team. So I'm like, look, we will know come training camp. I will have a more definite outlook about my team come training camp.
And I have seen some news about Derrick Henry. All they're saying is he and Baltimore have been in contact today.
Oh, no.
That's currently seems like that's the team that's been in contact with him. Just saying.
We'll take him and Saquon. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Please go get him. I would prefer the Eagles to go get him instead of, if it was going to be a bird team, the Eagles.
Falcon. No, not. I mean, you don't want that.
Yeah, because then Bijan ain't gonna get no play. So no.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Some are saying
I'm surprised the Patriots aren't. Like for Kyle, are you a little surprised the Patriots weren't in on that? Like Derrick Henry a little before.
Oh,
that's my neighbors, and they have a fan that's beeping. So.
Okay, it's all good. I don't know. You know, Derrick Henry. Okay, so I feel like if the Patriots were a little bit more complete, then a Derrick Henry addition makes sense. Bringing in Derrick Henry right now,
yeah,
I don't think it does much for him or the team, and he probably wouldn't want to go for that. Well, I was just saying that there's like a dark horse team for Derrick Henry. Some are saying the Houston Texans, because the Texans did lose Singletary, because Singletary went and signed with who did he sign with? I can't remember, but they lost him. So,
the Giants.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, the Giants. Damien, you want to song with this one? Why would the Ravens get a running back when they already have Lamar Jackson? I mean, don't tell Ravens.
Yeah, why would they go get Derrick if they're just going to run the ball with Lamar 60 damn times? Like, what the?
Because the fan base will celebrate it and think that they're actually doing something. So that's why. We have 30 seconds left. I was just saying we have 30 seconds left. I would love to keep this going, but got time constraints. Appreciate all of you in the chat. We don't have time to really do a complete goodbye, but thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you all come back next week. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your night. We're out of here. See ya.